Alright, look, I know what a lot of you are going to say. This isn't MJF's coronation. The coronation will be when he wins the AEW World title. Well, just sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beer, light up a joint. I don't care what you do, just let me make my argument. In August 2021, AEW pulled the biggest wrestling headline of the year when they brought back CM Punk to professional wrestling. It's a moment that frankly I'll never forget, and I don't know if I'll ever feel that way because of wrestling again. CM Punk spent 7 years away from the business, meaning when he came back, it was a completely different landscape compared to when he was last here. New faces meant new opponents, and Punk made it clear early on that he wanted to work with the younger talent. The fact that Punk came back to wrestling with AEW rather than WWE meant he had more fresh matchups at his disposal, and this is evident when you look at the list of people he's wrestled so far in AEW. By all accounts, CM Punk is a living legend in professional wrestling, and he's been treated as such since his big return last August. It's crazy to think about it and even crazier to say it out loud, but CM Punk has been back for 6 months now, and for those 6 months, he remained undefeated in AEW. Strangely enough, throughout those 6 months, he never once entered the top 5 rankings in AEW, but that's another discussion for another time. The point I'm trying to make is, whoever was going to hand CM Punk his first loss in AEW was going to instantly become a made man. And to Tony Schiavone's disgust, that man was Maxwell Jacob Friedman. That's right, the very talented, very loud, very obnoxious, very much the person I'm in a Twitter feud with, MJF. I said in a previous video where I broke down MJF and CM Punk's first promo against each other that these two were made to feud. You let two men go out there who don't pull their punches on the mic and just talk shit to each other, and you're gonna have a very good segment. It's crazy to think that that was almost 3 months ago. It took a while to get to this match because it had the typical MJF feud build where the person had to go through all of the pinnacle, but man, was it worth the wait. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed by now that MJF doesn't wrestle often, and I think the behind the scenes reason this happens is that so MJF doesn't rack up wins and start climbing the rankings, because at that point he's either going to be champion or not, and obviously AEW doesn't want to get there yet. However, after this past Wednesday, I think we're very close to that moment. If you watched AEW since day one, and I'm talking since Double or Nothing 2019, it was very clear that they had big plans for MJF, because if you see who were the final two in the first ever Casino Battle Royale, it was Hangman Adam Page and MJF. Tony Khan has gone on record to say that he had an idea of who his first 4 AEW World Champions were going to be. This is a company who books for the long term. They're thinking of the future. They just had Hangman Adam Page, their now AEW World Champion, hand Bryan Danielson his first loss in the promotion. That's what separates AEW from past alternatives to the WWE. They're luring over these big WWE names and they're building them up well, and then when it's time, they have one of their AEW originals beat them. And using this very formula, MJF has just had the biggest moments of his wrestling career. Although before I get there, I do need to point out that throughout his AEW run, MJF has picked up some huge wins. He's the only one of the 4 pillars to pin all of the other pillars. He also holds wins over Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, and current AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page. In addition to this, the only world title match he's competed in so far, which was against Jon Moxley at All Out 2020, was a loss where he was very much kept protected. MJF is like a sports dynasty. They rarely lose, but when they do, it's special. So now that I've basically quickly broken down MJF's dominant run in AEW so far, I know you guys want to talk about CM Punk versus MJF at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Is this match a masterpiece? Well, that depends on your taste in wrestling. I'm not here to argue whether it is or isn't, which is why this video is not a part of the masterpiece series that I make. What I am here to argue, however, is that MJF is the best young talent any American promotion has built up in at least a decade. And honestly, depending on your viewpoint and your taste, the argument can be made for 2 decades. And here's what I mean. I hate to bring them up, but this is going to be brief. WWE doesn't allow young talent to thrive on TV the way that AEW does. Or at least that was the case for the past couple of years. I could at least see them trying with NXT 2.0, but I'm not going to say that they're exceeding either the way that AEW is, because all I gotta say is one word that completely outshines the WWE Performance Center: hook. I'm also not going to pretend that all of AEW's attempts have been hits, because they have had some misses as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's no reason why a 3-year-old wrestling promotion should be outdoing the industry leader when it comes to building young talent. But we must give credit where credit is due. Not many talents, if at all, are MJF caliber. MJF walked into AEW looking like he had been wrestling on TV for the past 10 years. The man is a natural. He has it all. He's able to go in the ring. He has obviously the insane mic skills. He has the charisma. He has the look, and he watches my videos. And in year 3 of AEW, he has handed CM Punk, the wrestling legend who came back after a 7-year absence, his first loss in AEW. And to make matters worse, or better depending on how you look at it, MJF didn't just beat Punk once in his hometown of Chicago, he beat him twice in one night. This gives MJF unlimited ammo for the rest of his career. He is the only man to beat CM Punk twice in one night in Chicago. At 25 years old, the amount that MJF has accomplished in this industry so far is nothing short of amazing, but this is another level. What happened at the Wintrust Arena this past Wednesday was the coronation of MJF. It's quote-unquote booking 101 trademark symbol. Here's a guy that AEW took a chance on 3 years ago. They saw his talent, they saw his potential, and now he is destined to meet it and maybe even exceed it. And here's where you really see the difference in philosophies between the two big promotions in America. Well, for one, the wrestling match was a wrestling match, the type of match that these two men wouldn't be able to have anywhere else. Not in this country with this big of a platform at least. Secondly, because MJF was booked so well since AEW's inception, this wasn't just a recent start and stop push from a few months ago. This win was 100% believable, and it didn't create a star, it legitimized one. Because make no mistake about it, MJF has been a star since day one. What this did is catapult him to the next level, finally. If MJF can beat the biggest star in the entire promotion in CM Punk, then who's gonna stop him now? It's also very much worth pointing out that stars in AEW rarely lose in their hometown, which is why a win like this was an even bigger deal. And a lot of credit is also due to CM Punk, who is a wrestler's wrestler. He could easily be here just to collect a paycheck, but it's evident that that's not why he's here. He's here because he loves professional wrestling. And I'm sure that right about now, Punk is taking pride in the fact that on February 2nd, 2022, he helped launch one of the brightest, youngest stars in professional wrestling into the stratosphere. And it's very clear that the next step for MJF is the top prize in All Elite Wrestling, the AEW World title, which is currently being held by a man he has already defeated. MJF and Hangman Adam Page are on a collision course that seems like destiny. The two stood across the ring from each other on AEW's first ever show, and it appears that it'll happen again soon. I said a little earlier in the video that MJF is the best a promotion has built a young star in a long time. And how do I know this is true? Because right now he can walk into any promotion in the world, challenge for the top title, and I'd believe that he stands a chance. Because he's better than you, and you know it.